Thank you, Mylita. It's great to be back in the John Clark Performance Studio, especially with some sunlight finally showing through the windows here. And it's also especially great to be able to welcome a relatively new friend and acquaintance for WDAV, guitarist Alan Mearns. We'll be talking to him in just a moment. And to just remind you of what Mylita said, we are celebrating Public Radio Music Day, and you can find out about more that represents for WDAV by going to our website, WDAV.org, and looking for the box that says Public Radio Music Day on it. That'll link you to a lot more content that you can enjoy online. But right now you're tuned in, listening to the radio or streaming us, and we are about to hear from a relatively new acquaintance, Alan Mearns. Alan, welcome to WDAV and the John Clark Performance Studio.
Hi, Frank. It's great to be here.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? How long have you been here in the area?
Well, originally I'm actually from Belfast, Northern Ireland. I've been living in North Carolina since I was around 17.
Okay.
When I first met my first guitar teacher, Douglas James, at Appalachian State University, and kind of competed for a scholarship, won a full ride there, and ended up staying there and got married, and been here ever since, essentially.
Well, we're delighted to have you visit the John Clark Performance Studio and to be one of the first musicians back in here after we've had the place closed up for the last couple of years, unfortunately. So it's wonderful to be able to welcome someone who's new in our orbit, but I hope we'll get to know you better. Let's get to know your playing right now and hear the first selection you've got for us. What is that?
Sure, I'm going to play the famous first prelude from the Well-Tempered Clavier on guitar.
The first prelude from Book 1 of the Well-Tempered Clavier by Johann Sebastian Bach, music for keyboard, heard there on guitar, played by Alan Mearns. And Alan is one of the first visitors to the John Clark Performance Studio here at WDAV after a few years of disuse. So we're happy to have him back, especially since he's someone that's new to us, though obviously very well acquainted with the guitar, judging from how beautifully you play it. That was so wonderful. That piece is very special to me, Alan, because it's the only piece of music my wife will let me hear her play on the piano.
Oh, wow. And it's a vulnerable piece.
So she plays it beautifully. I always enjoy listening to it, and she loves guitar music, so I hope she's listening at home, because I'm sure she would have enjoyed your performance. Is that your own transcription of it?
It is, yeah. I recently just released a Bach recording called Say Solo, which includes various arrangements, two of those preludes, the famous Chaconne, where I kind of have a quite a involved arrangement, shall we say, of that, and some other violin music as well. So yeah, I just released that, and the arrangements are all available, to any budding guitar players. AlanMearns.com.
Excellent. Good to know. And I know you also have some YouTube videos that I watched in preparation for this, so you can find Alan on YouTube, definitely, to enjoy some of his performances.
Please do. Let me know.
And Mearns rhymes with learns.
Mearns never learns.
Or you could say someone learns a lot from watching you play the guitar.
There you go. Learns with Mearns.
Yes,
that's
it's
a good idea.
Spelled similarly, too, if you're looking for him on YouTube. Tell me a little bit about coming to North Carolina. How did you wind up here, and why have you stayed here?
Well, as a family, we originally moved from Ireland to Texas, which was like moving to Hades. It was so hot and humid, lovely people there, but then we moved up to Boone, North Carolina, with my family, and it was amazing. It was almost like moving back to Ireland, There was oxygen and seasons and things like this, and not as many critters, So, yeah, like I said earlier, I competed for the Fletcher Scholarship there at Appalachian State University and won that, and was able to do my school amazingly for free, and me and my wife got married up there in Boone. So I did my graduate work at Austin P with the great guitar virtuoso Dr. Stanley Yates, and then I moved back to North Carolina actually to start a rock and roll band. And then eventually the classical music kind of came on its own terms outside of the ivory towers, and so I've been pursuing that more recently.
Well, I'd like to know a little bit about how WDAV in particular, and maybe public radio in general, has been a presence for you in your life as a musician or as a music lover. Yeah,
the way you used that word presence is actually probably the perfect way to put it, because it's kind of always on, in a car, and we travel, and my kids have grown up with that, with yourself and Mylita, and in fact my daughter as a child would always, and I mean like always, have it on.
Wow.
Like nighttime, daytime. She'd even be, doing other stuff, even working on her guitar chords, and I'd be like, you need to turn the radio off. How can you do both, So then my son's a classical pianist, so he's always there. And when you have just that in your life, obviously art music, or the music we love, is really the sound of spirit, it's the sound of the heart and the emotions, and I just find it a necessary soundtrack, to my life, and it's just really great to stay in touch with your your true self, the deeper self, as opposed to the surfacey, plastic of the world.
Yeah.
And it gives it also kind of a respite and a comfort, I think, from sometimes the difficult day and the traffic. And so for various reasons, I always also like to be surprised, if I hear, oh, that was an amazing Schumann piece that I'd never heard, or, and that's something that's a reality in my life personally, so that's why I listen.
It really means a great deal to me personally, and I'm sure to all of us here at WDAV, to know that you feel that way about listening to the station.
It's necessary, completely necessary.
Well, it's necessary to hear you play something else before
Oh,
we let
okay.
you go because we are just way overdue having you here, and are so delighted to have your wonderful talent here in the John Clark Performance Studio. So next up, I think you have some Spanish music for us.
Yeah, my next recording will be a recording of Spanish pieces, and this is an arrangement of Enrique Granados' second Spanish dance, Oriental, arranged by my wonderful teacher, Dr. Stanley Yates.
Just beautiful. The second Spanish dance by Enrique Granados, Oriental, performed by Alan Mearns in a session from the John Clark Performance Studio here on WDAV for Public Radio Music Day. Alan, a relatively new acquaintance here, but I know we will be having you back, Alan, because I, for one, want to hear some more of your playing. That was just glorious.
Thank you so much, Frank. We're big fans, me and my kids and my wife. We listen to the night music and listen to Mylita all the time.
Oh,
so
well,
it's good to see you in the flesh.
It's wonderful to have you. I want to ask you before we let you go about your guitar, because it was wonderful to be able to watch you play it.
Right.
And, you know, you think of the guitar as being this instrument that's strummed and plucked, but it looks like what you do is caress it more so than any of those.
Well, there's that
things.
amazing the way in Spanish, my wife teaches ESL, and I only know this from her, but other languages say you play an instrument, you play this or that, but, you know, in Spanish they use the word tocar, to touch.
Right.
So I touch the guitar. Yeah, so it's always a little bit funny when people say, oh, you play guitar, and it's like, well, you know, you work very hard. It's not playing around, you know.
Exactly.
So I always love that word, you know, to touch the guitar or touch the piano. So it's, and this is a guitar that was recently made for me by a lovely guy called Zebulon Turrentine. Yeah, and he made this just for me, so.
It's a beautiful sounding instrument.
Yeah, it really is.
And kudos are due to our engineering team here, our production manager, Bruce Scott, and our audio engineer, Josh Sacco, who have just done a great job of capturing that lovely sound. So thank you all so much. Alan Mearns, our guest here in the John Clark Performance Studio on Public Radio Music Day. Let me let you know that there will be one more live studio session coming up at 7 o'clock sharp this evening with Key Soul, one of the singer-songwriters who participated in our noteworthy concert series, which we launched last year. And he'll be supported by Charlotte Symphony musicians, violinist Carrie Giles and cellist Jeremy Lamb. Plus, you can go to WDAV.org to link to our archive of other sessions from the John Clark Performance Studio, concert recordings on Carolina Live, and the latest live broadcast of the Charlotte Symphony Orchestra that was on WDAV a few weekends ago. Alan Mearns, thank you again for being here.
Thanks for having me.
I'm Frank Dominguez. Public Radio Music Day on WDAV is sponsored by the Beckler Museum of Modern Art.